What's going on, world? It's me, Andre Catnot here from West Palm Beach, Florida. So I want to break down a trade that you could have took on USD CAD last Friday, and I'm gonna also mark up my charts for this week as well, so that way you can kind of see how I mark up my charts when it comes to preparing myself for upcoming weeks. And also, before I dive deeper into this trade setup that you could have took on Friday, which was a perfect setup, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna allow you guys to copy my trades for 30 days. All right. So if you're interested in copying my trades for 30 days, I'm doing this for a limited time only. You can message me on Telegram or you can message me on Instagram and let me know, hey, Andre, I want to copy your trades. I'm only doing this for a limited time only. So take advantage of it. Okay. I normally charge $500 up front to be able to copy my trades, but I'm going to allow you guys to copy my trades for 30 days for free. All right. You can trade your own live account, or what you can do is you can go to a prop firm like Top Step and purchase a 50K account for only $49, and I can go ahead and pass it for you and get you funded. Okay, and all you would need is a VPS and a trade copier. That's all you need. All right, a VPS and a trade copier. That's all you need. And don't worry, I'll show you which VPS you need and which trade copier you need. All you got to do is just message me on Telegram or shoot me a DM on Instagram, and I'll give you the instructions on what you need to do to be able to copy my trades. Just reach out to me, let me know, hey Andre, I want to copy your trades, and I can help you get set up. Okay, now let's get into it. So before I do anything on the chart, I like to look at the daily. Okay, I want to see what type of trend we are creating on the daily, and not only that, I also want to mark up my previous weekly highs and lows. Okay, and what I mean by that is I want to look for the low and I want to look for the high of of last week's session. Okay, so what I like to do is I like to draw my zones. In this case, this is going to be the lowest point. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my zone from the wick to the body, and this is going to be my previous weekly low. Okay. And then what I also like to do is I like to draw my zone back in the future, or in the past, I mean, to see if this zone is being respected. Okay. And as you can see, right, I'm seeing some rejection here. I'm seeing a lot of rejection here, 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 major rejection. As you can see, this is a major rejection right here. All right, come back, rejection. I'm seeing some rejection there. All right, I'm seeing some rejection there. As you can see, this zone is pretty strong. Okay, so I also like to draw it in the future here. So this zone is pretty strong here. Okay, and then what I want to do next is I want to also look for my previous weekly high. In this case, this is going to be this one here. Okay, and I like to draw it in the past here to also see if this zone is being respected. And as you can see, I got my previous weekly high and I got my previous weekly low. Okay. Now, when it comes to the daily can tell you a lot on where market can potentially head to. When you see a rejection, this is a rejection candle. When you see a long wick right here, price tried to come and break the zone here, but it wicked back up and closed above the zone. And then the next day, you saw a really strong bullish candle right here. You see this right here? It's a strong bullish candle. So this tells me that most likely the next day is most likely going to be bullish. Okay, when you see a strong candle like this, all you got to do is just wait for a pullback. Make sure you have your zones marked up, which I'm going to show you here shortly, and you just ride the trend. You don't want to go against the trend. You want to ride the trend. All right, your trend is your friend. Okay, so once I see that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the 1 hour, and I'm going to look for some previous U.S. session highs and lows. Okay, in this case, what I want to do is I want to look for some zones here. Okay, so in this case, this is Friday. What I'm also doing, I'm gonna go back to the, I'm gonna go back to, I'm gonna replay this because I want to show you guys the previous trade you could have took. So it wasn't this one here. It was this. over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replay this real quick. Boom. Okay. So now we're going to go to the 1 hour. So what I want to do is I want to look for some zone. Okay. So this was the previous US session. You might be wondering like what the color, what are these colors? Like the red candle means that I'm in the US session, the yellow candle means that I'm in the Asian session, and the green candle means that I'm in the London session. I use an indicator to do that, but you don't really need these indicators to tell you, what session you're in. But I like, I like the indicator that I'm using that tells me what session I'm in. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to look for some zones. So price could come back down here, right, and then probably go up. Or and by the way too, like I said, when it comes to the daily, when you see a strong candle like this, I'm looking for the next day to be bullish as well. And if you go to the 4 hour, you'll see that the 4 hour is bullish. Okay, so you want to make sure that the daily and the 4 hour is bullish. All right, and if you see that the daily and the 4 hour is bullish, then you only want to be looking for buys on the lower time frame. Okay, so all we want to do is when it comes to the 4 hour, all we want to do is just wait for a pullback to go into our direction. That's it. All right. You want to wait for a potential higher low because we're creating higher highs and higher lows on the daily and the 4 hour. We want to make sure we want to catch a trade at a potential higher low. And that potential higher low has to be off of one of our US session highs and lows. Okay. So go back to the 1 hour here. And I want to look back in the past here and see where we could have took a trade from. Okay. All right. So I see a zone. I'm just drawing potential zone. Doesn't mean that price will respect these zones, but you know, I want to draw potential zones that price could reject off of. Okay. Because I'm seeing that price was rejecting this area here. Price was rejecting this area here. So we could see a potential higher low off of this zone here to continue to the upside. Okay. Or we could have price. We could have price pull back to this level here. This was the day before previous zone there. So we could see price pull back down here. Okay. So I got my potential zones, and as you notice that these zones are based off of previous. Well, was a previous U.S. session low right here. This was at 9 a.m. Eastern. So this was the lowest part of where price reached to on this day right here. Okay. So remember, I like to draw my zones from the wick to the body. That's how I get my zones. Okay. So after that, okay. And then what I'm gonna do is this U.S. session already happened. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna also forward to the next U.S. session. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and go to the 5 minute. And like I said, I'm trading USD CAD. So when it comes to US, if you're trading any type of US pairs, you want to trade them in the US session. Okay, and it all depends on what pair or assets you're trading. If you're trading pound pairs, you want to trade those pairs in London session. If you're trading a USD pair, majority of the time you want to trade that in the US session. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to fast forward this to the next US session. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Play this real quick. Let's speed this up. Let's go to 10. Okay, we're getting real close. All right, we're getting real close to 8 a.m. So I'm going to slow it down real quick. We can If I speed up just a little bit. So now it's US session. So now all I'm waiting for is to see if price is going to reject this zone. All right. And then I'm going to look for a buy to the upside. Or the second area that I want to buy at is here. So those are the two zones that I want to buy off of. Because remember, on the daily, we're bullish. On the 4 hour, we're bullish. If I go back to the daily, we are bullish, as you see, bullish. 4 hour, bullish. Okay? So I only want to wait. I want to wait for that pullback to see if we can catch a potential higher low off of one of these zones. Okay? Predicting. It doesn't mean it's gonna happen, but you know, we have a higher chance of, price going to the upside because the daily and the 4 hour is bullish. Okay, so let's go back to the 5 minute. And on, at these zones, I'm looking for a rejection, either a rejection candle on the 5 minute or the 15 minute. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and play this again and see what type of candle, or see if we can get a rejection off of this. Let's go to the 15 minute. Okay, so as you can see right now, the 15 minute, this is a rejection candle right here. Price tried to go down, right? Price tried to go down and break this zone, but it pulled back up and created a long wick. This is what I call a rejection candle. When I see something like this off of a key level or off of the zone in this case, then that means price is rejecting the zone, and I'm going to go ahead and look for buys. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, based on the 15 minute, I'm going to go ahead and get in for a buy. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get in for a buy, and I'm going to put my stop loss below the zone here. And then what I'm going to do is I can either target, yes, like the previous weekly US session high, which is right here. I can put that right there. This is another zone here that I can target. This is like a target that I can go for. All right. I could either target that zone, or go to the 1 hour, or I can target one of these zones here. I think yeah, I can either target, I like to look in the past and see where price could touch. Now I have a zone up here, a previous weekly zone up there, so I can also even target that if I want to. Okay, so these are places where I can target the trade to. Okay, so it's all about what type of risk reward you want. Right here, it can give you a 1 to 2 risk to reward here, or if I want to go for even more, I can target this level here. That'll be like a 1 to 3, almost 1 to 4. So let's target that. I can probably put my stop loss a little bit down there just in case they want to come down. And what I could do is I can just go ahead and take the buy right there. So let's see what happens. Let's see what happens here. So as you can see, price is rejecting that. And also, just to give you an extra tip, tip here that can make your, make your trade, or make you more confident when it comes to going into a trade. I like to use the anchor VWAP. Okay, so let me find my anchor VWAP tool here. I like to anchor the anchor VWAP at the start of the session, and as you can see, when price is at a zone and you have an anchor VWAP at the start of the US session, and price closes or breaks the VWAP and closes above the VWAP, that's a sign that buyers are in control. And then this means that you can really, you can be real confident that price is going to continue to go up because buyers are in control. Okay, so let me go ahead and play the trade again. And what I could do is, once price reach this point here, if it does, right, what I could do is I can, break even. I can close half of the position. So I can just go ahead and go break even there, and yeah, now I got a free risk trade here, and we'll see what happens. Yeah, when price reaches a certain zone, I like to break even because price could come up here and reject that zone and head back down to the downside. So I want to have a free risk trade. Okay, so the session is almost coming to an end. Um, let's see. Yep, price is coming almost to an end. So the session closes at 5 p.m. So what you could have did was on this trade, you could have took profit here, or you could have targeted here, or you could have target get out of the trade, get a second chance and get out of the trade here. So what I would do is I would have been out of the trade right here, or if you'd have put your target right here, you would have got a 2.5 risk to reward there, and you could have took the profits here. Either way, you could have made money because we was trying to target this zone here, but we still ended up winning the trade because if you was targeting here, you would have made money. If you would have waited, you would have made money here. But let's play it still. See how the session ended. Okay. So what I would have did, I would have manually closed out of this trade because the session is about to end. So yeah, this was the trade that you could have took on the previous Friday, and this is a textbook trade. This is what I do on a daily basis. I mark up my previous weekly highs and lows on the daily on the daily, and I mark up my U.S. session highs and lows or London session highs and lows on the 1 hour, and I break the trade down to the 5 minute, and then I wait for price to come into my zones, and all I'm waiting for is a rejection candle, and I also wait for price to break my VWAP and close above it or below it, depending on if I'm taking sales or buys, and I get in the trade. And this is a perfect trade setup right here that you could have took. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and clear this off, and I'm gonna go ahead and mark up my charts for this week. Okay, so again, I'm back on the daily here, and I want to look for the previous weekly low. Okay, so the previous weekly low is right here again, right here. Okay, and I'm gonna draw that there. I normally have a template for it. That's gonna be my previous week. Again, you want to draw it from the see how strong the zone is. As you can see, there's a lot of rejection here, here, here. So that means this is telling me that this zone is very, very strong. Okay, and then also what I want to look for is the previous weekly high. Okay. All right. Oh yeah, I need to. I don't know why I'm still in. Let me take this off. That way we can go back to the current one. Sorry, I thought it was on the regular chart here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the high of last week was this candle here. Now, when the zone is too big, what I like to do is I like to break it down to the 4 hour to see if I can tighten up that zone. And then again, I'm gonna drag this in the past, see if the zone is being respected. And as you can see, I'm just getting a lot of rejection off of the zone here. So that means this zone is very, very strong here. Okay. Let me go just there. Okay. And I'm going to draw that in the future. Go back to the daily. Okay. And then now I want to look for the low. Okay. The lowest point was here. Okay. So I'm going to mark my low here. Boom. This is my previous weekly low here. Again, if I want to make the zone a little bit smaller, because I don't like too big of a zone, so I can probably bring it down there, and I can probably drag it in the pass to see if the zone is being respected. I'm seeing a lot of rejections right now. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of rejections off this zone. So this is a pretty strong zone here. Okay. So now let me go back here. I got my previous weekly low and previous weekly high now. All right. So now, after I do that, I go to the 1 hour, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my previous weekly, my previous U.S. session high or low. Okay. Again, when I don't like, whenever the zone is too big, I like to go one time frame down to see if I can tighten it up just a tap bit. I guess we'll keep that zone there. And then I'm going to mark this red. This is going to be my previous U.S. session high. And then I can draw my previous U.S. session low down here if I want. When it's that small, I usually just get the horizontal line there. And that'll let me know that's the previous U.S. session low there. Okay. So going into this week on USD CAD, we're still kind of bullish, kind of. But then again, we also look like we're kind of bearish at the moment on the 4 hour. So as you can see, we're bearish. We're getting a strong rejection off of this U.S. session high here, and we could start seeing some sales. But what I want to do is going into this week, I want to see some type of strong reaction off of these previous weekly highs and lows. Okay, I want to see a strong rejection off of this zone here at the bottom here. I want to see a strong rejection off of this zone, or I want to see a strong break and retest. I want to see a strong break and retest and pull back to the zone, and then maybe look for some sales. Okay, so we'll see. All I'm going to do is just going to wait for the daily to show me the daily candles to tell me what the market want to do. If I see a strong rejection off of this zone here, a bullish candle, that means we might want to look for buys for the week. If I see a strong bearish candle off of this zone here, then most likely might want to look for some sales. Okay, so it all depends on what the daily is telling me, and I go with that. All right, just like the trade that I showed you earlier on USD CAD, we saw a strong reaction off of this candle. You see the strong bullish candle. This tells me that we want to look for buys, because this tells me that the next day might want to go to the upside because of the strong bullish candle right here off of the zone. So hope you guys got some value. Hope you guys are seeing how I be marking up my charts, what I'm looking for. But again, I'm gonna leave it with this. If you guys want to be able to copy my trades automatically over to your account, hands-free for 30 days, I'm only doing this for a limited time only, then just reach out to me on Telegram. I'll leave the links in the description box below. Reach out to me on Telegram or reach out to me on Instagram and let me know, hey, Andre, I want to copy your trades. But hope you guys got some value, but I will see you guys on another video. Take care, y'all.